Welcome to Laricy Live. You want to know what's happened in the real estate market? Then this show is for you. I'm your host, Matt Laricy. So today's topic, we are talking about the in-town buyers are back. This is a big portion of the market that didn't exist. So what we did is we put some feelers out there of what some people had some questions on with how these buyers would impact the market. So we're reading them off. First question is, can you define what an in-town buyer is? An in-town buyer is somebody that's buying from either out of state or that lives in the suburbs and wants to have either a full-time or part-time place in the city. This is a huge portion of the market that literally has not existed for 18 plus months. What was the in-town buyer market like in a normal year before the pandemic? It's huge. It makes up a huge portion of the business. I mean, there's a lot of people from Ohio, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin that want to have a place in downtown Chicago. There's a lot of people from North Shore, Hinsdale, southwest suburbs, like wherever, some rich suburb in the, close to Chicago that wants to have, a crash pad in the city. And, for a while there, people didn't want to live in the city. People told you would never live in the city. So it's a huge, huge portion of the market. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I feel like it's got to be at least 10%, if not more. I've never read a stat about it, but I know that in the last few weeks, that's all I've been seeing is out-of-state and in-town buyers. What happened to in-town buyers during the pandemic? They didn't come here. I mean, let's face it. People said you would never live in a city again. So they weren't in existence. People also said that, we were going to be locked down forever. So why would you want to live in a pie in the sky, right? And the other thing is people were scared because of the second round of looting. Once that second round of looting hit, people thought it was, the city was just too dangerous to come down to, so people weren't buying here. And that affected the marketplace. I can't comment on safety. I'm just saying what people thought happened. What types of places are in-town buyers typically looking for? Most of the time, I'm not saying this is every in-town buyer out there because you could tell me like, well, my guy wants one in Lincoln Park and blah, blah, blah. I'm saying most of the time they're buying high rises in the heart of the city because they want to be close to the action, meaning they want to be the restaurants and theater and the museums and all that stuff. So when they come to the city, it's all right there. Plus, in-town or high rises are usually a lot less maintenance for them. So, if you're in a 3-unit building in Lincoln Park and you're here, 2 weeks a year, you got to have somebody checking up on it all the time. If you live in a high rise, you have an engineer or a door staff that you can send up there. So most of the time they want a hands-off, shut the door behind them, full amenity building in the heart of the city, most of the time. Can in-town buyers still get a deal in the second half of the year? Yeah. I mean, listen, as of when this podcast is released, I don't know, but there's about 9 months of inventory in the heart of the city. A balanced market is 4 months, so we're still in a buyer's market. That's changing. It was just 12.4, and prior was 16, 18, and 24 months. So, it's dropping, but it is still technically a buyer's market, and there's still some deals to be had. Best downtown buildings for in-town buyers. I mean, there's tons of really, really good buildings. I'm not just start naming them off, but I will tell you the best deals right now, if we want to talk about deals, is the ones that are closest to Michigan Avenue, because those are the ones that are still struggling. That market's hit the hardest. Buy something on Michigan Avenue. You want to be in the heart of the city, in the heart of the action, and you've always wanted a place in Chicago. Now's the second time, best time in your lifetime to buy something on Michigan Avenue. You'll never see a better deal than you will now. Well, technically, you would have saw a better deal in fall, but this will be the next best deal you're going to see for the foreseeable future. What types of amenities are in-town buyers usually looking for? Honestly, they're looking for door staff. That's a huge one. They don't really necessarily need like a pool or a fitness room, but having a door staff and on-site maintenance, the reason is that they want somebody to be able to take any packages that come from them because they may not be there for weeks. They want somebody who could be able to go into their unit and check up on it because they may not be there for months or whatever it is. Just something where it's kind of like a hassle-free condo living. That's most of the buyers are looking for when they're buying an in-town place. Are you seeing more in-town buyer traffic? It is like literally insane how much in-town buyers we're seeing right now. Now, I feel like we partner with Zillow. I will tell you, we get on average about 30 to 40 leads a week. And I'll say that half of them recently in the last 4 weeks, half, are all people that are buying from out of state. Now, I'm not saying these guys are pulling the trigger. I'm not saying we're doing 40 sales a week because, 90% of these leads are absolute garbage. So let's not put this out of perspective that I'm sitting here telling you like we're crushing it with 50 deals a week. Like, I mean, honestly, 90% of them are complete horseshit. But there are people that are just poking around online. Hey, my dream has always been to buy a place in the Chicago. I saw this place. What questions I have? Blah blah blah. When we're showing our high-rise listings, lately we're asking people, hey, where are you living at now? Oh, I'm living in Iowa. Oh, I'm living in Ohio. Or I just sold my house in the North Shore, and I want to buy a place downtown and live here part-time and live part-time out in Florida, Arizona. That's a huge. The downsizing market's also a huge market. That's an in-town market. It's huge. And I would honestly say that probably 30 to 35% of the buyers I'm seeing as of right now are in-town buyers. And that is a great stat because that's showing you that the confidence is back in the marketplace. That's what you need. Once the confidence comes back, that's when a market comes back. And we are hitting good confidence right now. What other signs you're seeing that the in-town market is back? And I just told you about all those signs are adding up to it. Are in-town buyers coming from the burbs? Absolutely. The suburb buyers have always been a huge portion of the marketplace for the downtown because it's always been, you get a lot of people who lived in the city, right? They have a couple kids. They move out to the suburbs to raise their family. Their kids are in high school now. They're kind of on cruise control as parents, okay? And they want to have something to do. And having that place in Chicago was always their dream to have something else back here. So they get a place here. So when the kids come down, they could use it with them. Or, when the kids go to college, they have a place here in the city. It's huge. Or people whose kids went to college and now they're sitting on 10,000 square feet of a house that they don't need. And they get rid of that and they get a place here. And they get a place out in, like Florida, Arizona, or Texas, or wherever it's hot. What's driving the in-town buyers move to the city? The fact that people want to have a place. The fact that people feel confident in the market again. That's what's driving the people down here. And that was always a huge market. So when the media was telling you that this would never exist again, I kept telling people to don't drink the Kool-Aid because people are going to come back. People like cities. People like the energy. People like to do things. People don't like to be held in a cage their whole lives. They like to go walk around the parks. They like to go to the theaters and see the shows. They like to go to the movies still. They like to go to dinners. You got the best restaurants in the world here. There's stuff to do. People want to do things. They want to hang out with their friends in a big city, and that's why they're buying them. The suburb market is still hot. Is that driving people to sell and move in the city? I think what's happening is you're just seeing a lot of people who are like, hey, I'm getting a record high price for my place right now. A lot of these houses in the suburbs haven't gone up since 1980. And they're like, I'm selling at a high. I could still buy at a relative low downtown. And then I could get a second place somewhere else. Or I could get my new place downtown. And that's where I'll live full time now and get 4,000 square feet for a fraction of the price that it could have been. And I'm selling my house at an all-time high. We're seeing that happen. It's a big thing that's driving the marketplace right now. In fact, I think that's one of the biggest things that's keeping up the market in the summer right now. I mean, a lot of the younger first-time buyers are gone. As I've been telling everybody, for anybody that listens to these podcasts, that those people are going to start traveling. And that market, in the smaller buildings, the 2 to 12 unit buildings, has drastically cooled off. And the high-rise market has drastically picked up, in part because of the out-of-state and empty nester buyers. Is there a general age range for in-town buyers? I can't comment on age ranges. I can tell you that there's a lot of people downsizing who have older kids. I can tell you there's a lot of people who are, in a stage of life where they can afford to have a second place in the city. So far, in the last 4-ish weeks, I've been selling 3 places a week to people either out of state or downsizing. And that's a pretty big sector of the market. And I think that's only going to continue to pick up. Are most in-town buyers right now empty nesters? I wouldn't say they're empty nesters. I would say it's as much as the media is telling you that people don't have money, a lot of people are richer than God right now. I mean, people have been cashing in on the stock market. And everybody knows inflation isn't coming. And a lot of people just have a lot of excess money. And they're like, screw it. Inflation's coming down the corner here. I got extra money in my pocketbook. Why not buy that place I've always wanted in the city? That's another portion. It's not just empty nesters. It's just people with excess money that want to have a place in the city. And they also know it's a good time to buy. Rates are super low. There's 9 months of inventory, so it's a buyer's market in the city. If you got a lot of cash and this was a dream, I mean, technically speaking, this is the second best time in your lifetime to do this. Why did the in-town buyer stop buying the city? We talked about this. Honestly, it was fear of the media telling you not to live in a city, and it was the fear of the disease. Did a lot of in-town buyers look to sell when the pandemic hit? Yeah. So when the fall happened and there was 24 to 26 months of inventory in certain areas like the Loop and River North and some of those things, a lot of the people selling were people who had in-town units. They that second round of looting hit and people were like, screw it. I'm done with Chicago. I'll never be back there again. Sell that thing. There was people who just never came back. They just said, I'm just never, ever coming back there again. Put it on the market. So that was a large portion of the buyers. Did a lot of in-town buyers? No. What percentage of downtown buyers are in-town buyers? That said, I don't know. I like I said, I would say probably around 10%. That could very well be like a 20% stat. I don't know, but I do know it's a significant portion of the sales. The other one is the international market, which we're going to talk about in a couple of podcasts from now, and that's another 10 to 15%. So all of these things add up. Okay, it's you lose 10 to 15% of buyers because they were in-town buyers, right, and empty nesters. You lose 10 to 15% of buyers because they were international buyers. That's 30% of the marketplace. That's 70% only left over. That's a big portion when you're losing 30% of the demand. How did empty nesters play into the in-town buyers, or how do they play into the market? I mean, they're a big portion of it. It's just the fact that as you get older and your kids get older, you kind of want to be back to what you've always loved. And a lot of people love the energy of the big city, especially if you move to like Florida, Arizona part-time. I mean, it's pretty chill in those areas. There's no like real big city feel, and people like the energy big cities give off, and that's why they're buying places down here. Best tips for in-town buyers, I would say that buy something that's close to where you want to be. I get a lot of people who want to get a bigger place, so they'll buy like way up in like Lakeview, but they say they spend all their time in like River North and the Loop. I'm like, okay, we're going to spend, $50 to $60 on Ubers every time you come here each way and not even be where you want to be. And if there's good traffic, honestly, it could take you 30 minutes on a Saturday night to get from Lakeview to the Loop. And it's like, at that point, it only takes you 45 minutes from the suburbs. Is it really that big of a difference? Because you hop on Lakeshore for the other way, other than navigating through the city. So I tell people, buy where you want to buy. And the second thing I tell you is like, reevaluate how much space you really need. We have a lot of people who are like, I need a 3-bedroom in the heart of downtown Chicago. I'm like, well, who's going to be there? They're like, well, it's going to be us. And then maybe if friends come with us, and maybe if our kids come with us. And I'll tell you, most of the time, they don't really have that many friends go with them, and their kids don't go with them that much, and they're usually only 1 bedroom. So I'm like, maybe you just get a 1 or 2 bedroom. Start small. If you use it that much and you really love it that much, just sell it and buy up. See how much you would use it. That's a big portion of the marketplace. Out of the downtown areas, which is the most popular for in-town buyers? I would say it would be River North, Streeterville, Gold Coast, and the Loop. Those are going to be your biggest areas for in-town buyers, and that's solely because they're the closest to the action. What are the most in-town buyers coming for? Restaurants, entertainment, etc. They're mostly coming to hang out, go get a good meal, see a good show, go back home and go to bed and not have to worry about, getting in a car and driving on a highway. That's most of the reason why they're coming in. What do you think makes Chicago a desirable city for in-town buyers? The fact that you have all the attractions of the city. That's what makes it the most desirable. I just think that there's so much going on. It's a very walkable city. There's, great public transportation for people to take, so you can get all around the city very easily. I think people just like the vibe of the city. For in-town buyers with second homes, what other states they live in? Just the immediate Midwest. Occasionally we'll get people from, Florida who move there full-time and want a place in Chicago, or like West Coast, but for the most part, it's just people in the Midwest. Do we get a lot of snowbirds? Yeah, we get a lot of people moving back here because you got to remember, a lot of people from Chicago, they don't like the winter, so they go to Florida and Arizona, and they want to get a place back here. Do they rent out their places during the winter months? No, most big cities, or most of the big buildings in the city don't allow short-term rentals. They would have to keep it as a 12-monther or just let it sit vacant. A lot of them let their families and stuff use them. That's kind of mostly what they do. Do you handle in-town buyers any differently than you handle other buyers? No, a buyer's a buyer. The main thing is you kind of want to talk to them a little bit more about like, what are they going to be using this for and what are they going to be doing, and then try to cater the building to fit those needs. But otherwise, I mean, it's the same thing you do with the regular buyers. You figure out what they want and try to help them make the right decision. What does in-town buyers coming back mean for the rest of the real estate market, and what's the impact? It's a huge impact, because if it's a 10 to 15% portion of the buyers, that's a big, demand coming back. They also buy a lot of luxury properties. They don't just buy like 2 to 4,000 properties. A lot of these people have, we're talking like extreme wealth where they're buying, $2, $3, $4 million, monster of units in these brand new luxury buildings. And in fact, Crane's published an article the other day about how, big bang buyers are back. And most of those buyers buying those $6 to $7 million units that have been selling at the Regis and some of these other high-end new constructions, they're not using it that much. They're barely using it. And that's a big portion for the market because that helps move the units, which helps bring the comps up, which helps bring more confidence in the marketplace. What are all the realtors saying about the in-town buyer market? They're saying the same thing. They're saying they're seeing a lot more of them enter the marketplace. Like I said, it's a huge portion of the market. Are they just trying to downsize? They're not always trying to downsize. That's a small portion of in-town buyers. They're also just trying to look to have another home. People like having second, third, fourth homes. I mean, during the pandemic, second homes were an all-time high. The fact is that people buying second homes in big cities was not high. But now that's coming back. Do in-town buyers value outdoor space or building amenities more? They like having more building amenities. They don't really need a balcony or anything like that. Most of these people have big homes with sprawling backyards. They'd probably like a nice amenities inside the building or just being close to the lake or by the big parks because, again, they have all the toys of outdoors from home. They're just looking for more of a city vibe. That's the big difference. In fact, a lot of these people are buying places that don't even have balconies. Do you think all the talk about the Delta variant will impact in-town buyers? I mean, Pritzker talked about the other day that he's not opposed to locking us down again. But honestly, I don't know how that's going to play out. It's too early to tell. We are vaccinated, and I think if you're going to try to lock people down when they've been vaccinated, I don't know how people are going to react. I really don't. As of now, I'm not seeing that have a big impact on the market, but it very well could. It very well could. Did COVID or the civil unrest have a bigger impact on the in-town buyer market? Civil unrest. It's not even close. COVID hurt the market, but didn't crush the market. The civil unrest crushed the market. People got scared. That's the thing. And the media talked about how scary it was. And they talk about crime, and that scared people away. It was fear. Fear will always beat anything else out. And it was the fear of coming down here that really hurt that market. Now, there's still a lot of fear in the marketplace, but it's starting to slowly turn. And that's why I say that the in-town buying gives us more confidence. Are any of your buyers looking to purchase concerned about the violence in the city? People, the negative impact of what's been happening in the city is definitely impacting. I think if there wasn't 100+ shootings a week, people would have more confidence in the city. So it's definitely having an impact on the market. How much? It's too impossible to say exactly. Let's see here. What are the most asked questions you get from in-town buyers? Honestly, most of them want to know exactly what's happening about the market itself. It doesn't have to do with the buildings. They're all nervous about the market. It's like they want to buy into the city, but they want to know what's happening and where we project it to go. And that's the biggest issue, is that people are just kind of nervous about is this now the right time? And I keep telling people that when there's blood in the water, that's when you want to strike. So, I think a year from now, I think 2022 will be one of the best years for big cities because a lot of people still have that fear. But that's definitely the main question I get. Where do you see the in-town buyer market heading for the rest of the year? It's only going to go up. It's only going to keep going up. People are going to keep wanting to get a place in cities. Since the dawn of humanity, humans have gotten together with other humans and they've created cities. People like the energy in cities. And people who live on 10 acres in the middle of Iowa want to have a place in a nice city to be able to go out to some high-end restaurants and be able to experience life. And to be honest, it's really not that expensive to get a place when you compare it to a big city like in LA or in New York. And that's why people get motivated to buy here. Where do you see in-town buyers market heading in 2022? Just said it. Mark my words. 2022 will be one of the biggest years in history for big cities. You have to remember, the reason the suburbs are so hot is because you took 3 million people in downtown markets that were like this, and they went like this. And all the areas around were like, holy crap, how are we going to handle all of these people coming there? But in 2022, when everybody's back to work, you're going to start to see this happen. And all the areas around, the suburbs are going to be like, wow, that was a really crazy amount of demand that we had for the last 24 months. But where did all those people go? Well, they went back to the city. And people are going to feel much more confident in the city again next year once we're pretty much completely through all of this BS that's been happening and behind us. And now we're going to be looking up into the roaring 20s, and I think big cities are going to have a good few years at least minimum. All right, guys, that's all we have for you on these questions. Stay tuned for this. Hit the bell, subscribe to our page so you're the first to be notified when these are released. If you have any topics you ever want us to cover, make sure to send them over. We'll get questions out there to answer everything. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live. Make sure to tune into our next episode and subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live.